Hello, welcome back to the channel. If you can't tell, I've been working before I turned the camera on. I was prepping for today's shoot. It is Sunday, and normally I don't film on Sundays, I film on Mondays and then I post on Mondays. But since we've had like 5 days of rain on and off again, the grass has gotten really tall. And I have a little puppy now, as many of you know. And she's starting to get lost in the grass sometimes. The other issue is, of course, she picks up a lot of dew in the mornings, so she gets basically completely soaked because she's so small. So I need to cut the grass. But I can't do that today on Sunday because the grass is still very wet because we just finished having rain last night, apparently. It was supposed to have been done yesterday afternoon, but then we had another shower last night. So, c'est la vie. What is that the saying? C'est la vie? Yeah. Anyways, tomorrow I'll mow the lawn. So, because hopefully by then it'll be quite dry enough to mow and not cause any problems with clogging the mower feed chute or anything else like that. Because again, today, Sunday, is supposed to be completely dry, which is nice, but again, everything's still just a wee bit wet. It might dry out enough this afternoon or late this afternoon that I can mow the veg garden, which is probably one of the worst areas, frankly, because I didn't get to mow that before it started raining. So it was already getting tall, and then we got the rain, so now it's getting quite out of control. So maybe this afternoon I'll be that. Anyways, you didn't tune in to hear about my woes with the lawn care. No, what you tuned in for was me stealing a tree, which I'm going to get to in a minute. Have I mentioned it's hot? It's a little warm today. I think later in the week it's supposed to get it to 90, our first 90-degree day, which is fair. I mean, we're almost to July and we are in the south. First, I'm going to start off by planting a couple of shrubs which I've been meaning to get in the ground for a while. And both these shrubs I received as bare root from Arbor Day Foundation. If you guys don't know about Arbor Day Foundation, head over to Arbor Day Foundation. I'll leave a link right here. I'm not sponsored by them. I just think it's a really good, I don't know how they are as a charity or as a save the trees type of thing, but I know that they have a shop, and in the shop they offer some really good discounts on lots of trees and shrubs. Even some flowers occasionally, flowering shrub kind of things. But either way, head over to the shop, check out their deals. If you become a member, and I think you can become a member for as cheap as $5 or $10 a year, which is incredibly cheap, you get big discounts on a lot of plants. Again, I'm not sponsored by them. I've just gotten quite a few of my plants from Arbor Day as bare root for a pretty good discount. This is the first thing we'll be planting. This is a Crimson Kiss Weigelia. And I think I got this for like, I don't know, $5 or $10 bare root. And if I'm not mistaken, this is like a Proven Winners or something. And if you buy it off the shelf in Lowe's, looking something like this, when I got it, it looked like a twig. Well, if you buy it off the shelf looking like this or even fuller, you could be paying $10, $20, $30 for it, depending upon the size of the pot. It's a lot of money. Again, if you go over to Arbor Day, you could probably pick it up for, again, as a bare root. So it won't look like much. In fact, it may not grow much the first year. This Weigelia just seems to be putting on plenty of good growth. But if you're not in a rush, again, get yourself bare root. You support a good cause, and you save yourself quite a bit of money. The second shrub I'm going to be planting is this Mary Poppins Winterberry. Now, I already have a beautyberry, so I thought I'd maybe get a winterberry because it does the whole berry thing, flowers, looks pretty. And this is at the far end of my property, at the far end of the orchard. My neighbor's property is right there. They don't live there. It's just an overgrown lot, but which is fine, doesn't bother me. But I'm building right here a sort of hedge line of various different plants that I want to plant. They don't have to all be the same. In time, 5, 10, probably closer to 10 years down the road, I won't see this hedge line hopefully from the house because there'll be other plantings out there. I'll only see it when I come down here to the orchard, which again is fine. It's what I want. I want to grow as many different types of plants as possible. So whether it be a winterberry or Weigelia or a palm tree or a rose, whatever. I want to grow as much as I can. Different types, different kinds, variegated, non-variegated, tall, short, small, in between. Just to say I did it. I could. And it looks pretty, theoretically. So let me get to dropping these in the ground, and then we'll move on to stealing a tree. Before I get to planting, I'm just going to make a quick note for those again you who haven't followed along with the channel. What I'm going to be planting with today is a 2-bag mixture. I'm going to be using Daddy Pete's Plant Pleaser, which is aged cow manure mixed with ground up wood chips. So they're not very big, they're pretty small actually, but essentially that's like fertilizer and organic matter all being added to the ground at once. And Daddy Pete's mushroom compost. Again, adding all of that into the ground, mixing. I've already mixed it all up in the wheelbarrow. I've used this combination successfully on multiple of my trees, which are all doing quite nicely right now. I have peach trees which are putting on peaches, and I have several of the shrubs which again are doing quite well. So this works for me. This is what I'm going to be using. This is not an end-all, be-all. It's the only perfect product out there. This is just what I use, and it works well for me. So with that being said, let me stop babbling, start dropping the plants. Now you may ask yourself, why did I water if I just had all this rain? In reality, we only had a couple of inches, which may seem a lot to you depending upon where you are in the country. And here, it's not actually a lot, and the ground is still moist, but we may not get rain for the next 4 or 5 days. So I wanted to give these guys a good watering. They'll sit. The water will drain away from the roots because we're not supposed to get rain for the next few days. And then if we haven't gotten any rain in the next 2 to 3 days, and we might get rain in the next 2 to 3 days, who knows? The weatherman is always wrong and constantly guessing. I'll come back out here and I'll give these plants another water because again, we are getting into that season where it's getting much hotter now. So you can still plant when it's 100 degrees out. You just have to baby the plants a lot because again, they're going to be very stressed due to the heat. Again, many of you experts know this. I mean, I learned from watching YouTube, Laura from Garden Answers and HortTube and a bunch of other channels. Anyways, the plants are in the ground. Hopefully they grow, and then hopefully in a year or two they get to their full size. They're supposed to get to about 3 to 4 foot. With the heat and the moisture that we get here, they'll probably get closer to that 4 foot. So each shrub should kind of fill in. They'll probably wind up touching, which is fine. I want that. Here we are at the edge of my property. Now exactly where the property line is, I'm not 100% sure. I'm not going to hire a surveyor at this point. I do have a survey of the property, but good luck in trying to find those markers. And I think one of the markers is the pine tree that's at the corner of my property. I don't know. But either way, somewhere within this area is my property line. I've always tried to plant closer to what I think is my side, definitely not trying to encroach on the neighbor's property in case they ever do build on this land. But since I've lived here for the last 3 years, no one has done anything with this land. My guess is it's an investment property. Somebody bought it years ago really cheap, hoping that over the next 10 to 20 years it increases in value and then they can sell it at some point in the future, which is fine. And then I think in the past 3 years, only once has somebody come by with a massive tractor and a bush hog, and they've mowed the property. And by that, they just don't take down the grass. They take down any small trees or shrubs that are growing, pine trees, anything else that's seeded itself, and they mow it all down. The big trees and the shrubs, they stay. They just mow around that, but all the little stuff, they just mow down. And then, of course, they clean out by the street, and they clean out the drainage ditch. It's all very nice. But nobody's done that this year, so there's a lot of stuff growing. And one of the things that's growing is a persimmon tree. That's right, behind me there are 3 persimmon trees. Now my neighbor has a persimmon tree, and I was going to take a few nuts from them later in the year from their rotted fruits there, and then I was going to plant them up and see if I could grow a tree from seed, which I still might do. But wouldn't it be nice to have a larger tree here that I could then grab and plant into my own yard? So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to step a few feet over there, which is definitely over in their property, and I'm going to dig up one of those trees. So here is the tallest of the persimmon trees, and it has some brown spots on it, which means it's got some sort of bug or fungal, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to die. It just may not mean that it's not getting the nutrients that it needs where it's located. Bird probably just dropped the fruit over here and it started growing. So here we are. Again, there's 3 trees. I'm only going to take one, and it's only because I have a location for one. Depending upon if and when that the owner comes to mow their property, I may grab another one, maybe, and plant that elsewhere on my side. But for now, I think I'm just going to rescue this tree and plant it over here in the orchard. So let's start digging. I'd cue the Mission Impossible music, but copyright and all, you know. Well, there you go. I intended to take soil with it, but it didn't seem like anything wanted to stick to it. The roots also don't look all that great. Again, that's maybe why the plant has some brown spots on it, because it was a little, it was suffering, maybe in the soil, the location where it's at. It's getting plenty of sun, but again, maybe the soil was a little too damp, not enough drainage. Let's go plant this in a hole. So there you go. One persimmon tree stolen from the neighbor's property, planted here. I'm sure they won't mind. Again, the neighbor eventually will come through and bush hog everything, flattening it out. Again, except for the large wax myrtles and the pine trees. But everything else small, like this plant, would have been mulched out, would have been mowed down. And if I can rescue this plant, if I can rescue this tree, and if I can get it to rejuvenate and come back to life a bit, well then I got myself a free tree. So I planted this tree right here, and right off camera is the post, denoting kind of where I think the edge of the property is, probably a little more on my side. And this gap between the two is 12 feet, because I'm going to have 2 entrances at least into the orchard area eventually that are 12 foot wide. So I can bring in small vehicles and definitely the mower into a 12 foot wide gap. I could probably squeeze my truck in. I may make the other gap a bit wider, maybe 14 foot at the other end. When we get there, I'll show it to you and explain it to you. But again, if this tree grows, it'll be tall, it'll be beautiful. It'll produce fruit, which the birds and the animals like, and I would have saved a tree. I think that's going to do it for today. I had to retreat into the shade here. It's a little warm. Do me a favor, check out all the links below. I have my social media links, links to merchandise, and all sorts of other goodies. So please check those out below in the description. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Click that bell icon to be notified when I do post a new video, because it might be something that you're interested in, or you just may want to see more of Sophie here. So that's going to do it for me and Sophie. We're going to go inside and get something to drink now. We'll catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.